Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. So recently I received a commission for a USTA tournament set, but the plastic that I used for the flats was on back order. So I pitched the idea of 3D printing the flats and capstones to the client, and they let me run with it. So I did some experiments, and I think I've come up with something that has all the benefits of the USTA set as far as the clarity, the heft, the playability, has all that, but it adds some features that you wouldn't be able to add just with cutting a flat sheet of plastic. So I added some things for anti-slippage to help with the lower dexterity that comes with not only with age, as this is for an older gentleman, but some people are born with less dexterity, some people have injuries, some people want to play on an unstable surface. Maybe they're on a cruise, I don't know, and you want to bring your tack set along. So I came up with this design and did some testing on it, and I'd like to share that with you guys today. If you like what I do here, you can support me by buying my books on how to get better at tack, or you can buy commission from me. You can join my Patreon. All that stuff helps support the small channel. I funnel all that money right back into tack, and that way we can keep spreading this wonderful game, and I can keep making improvements like I have, hopefully, with this set. Without further ado, let's kind of get into the design, and then we'll do some testing on this set to make sure that it meets all those design requirements. So the three main things that the client is concerned with are the heft, the clarity, and the playability of this set. And of course, we have to keep the budget in mind. This is going to be about the same cost as the USTA tournament set that I sell, so I need to keep that in mind when I'm designing these flats. Luckily, with 3D printing, the plastics used are fairly inexpensive. For initial testing, I started out and I just printed a basic flat, no chamfer, no features, nothing like that. Just a basic, square of plastic. And I compared the weights, and surprisingly, with 100% infill, the 3D printed flat is actually about 4 grams heavier than the USTA flat. So I knew that just at a basic comparison, I had a good kind of base to start from, and we could work on adding features. And if I rounded the corners off, lost a little mass there, then some of the other features I added would add a little bit back, and we should end up with something that is basically the same heft as the USTA set, but hopefully more stable. So I sketched it out first, then I pulled it into FreeCAD, and I added these features that I wanted and did some prototyping on that, trying to stick to my basic 3D design principles for 3D printing, which are to have it print without supports and to be consistent and easy to print on about any printer that you can either borrow or maybe you own, or you can go to the library and get these printed out. I feel like any 3D design that I come up with that I want other people to 3D print should follow those principles. So I iterated a couple times on that design because the wall still felt a little fiddly to me. And so I grooved that out instead of just having the kind of raised parts on the side hold the wall up. And I like that better. And then so I did a couple more test prints and then sent the final over. And I really like how it turned out. So let's go over to the test bench, aka the chest freezer over there, and we'll do some testing, and I'll let you guys decide how well it worked. This is the USTA set, and this is what we use for conventions, for learn to play and tournaments. These flats are made from a plastic called King Starboard. Comes in sheets, and then I cut it down to the playing size, which it's a fairly beefy flat compared to what you would have with like the classic set, and the tavern set is even smaller than that. So these are decent sized squares, high contrast visibility. That's part of the reason that we made them like this. And the flats are colored all the way through and made of this plastic, which is, it's not indestructible, but it is quite hardy. If I can find it, I'll flash a picture up here of a test that I did back in the day when I first kind of came upon this substance and was going to try this material out for these sets. And that's a picture of me beating on these flats on top of a concrete block with a hammer, and the concrete block broke long before anything happen to these flats. And after the fact, they just have some kind of scratching, scoring marks from where the concrete bit into them a little bit. But overall, a vast improvement from the painted MDF that we were using originally for these Learn to Play and tournament sets. We don't have many issues with these flats in a tournament setting. Even though beginners tend to make very tall stacks in their play, we still don't have issues with these during our live events where we have many fumbles at all. So they're perfectly serviceable and playable, but as you can see, they're just not the most stable. The plastic on plastic is slippery, and so you run the risk of just incidental spillage. So I'm going to run a few tests on this, just using a simple kind of speed square here, and that's just kind of to act as a protractor for the angles that these flats may begin to slip past one another. So I'll do a little test with the USTA flats, and then I'm going to test my new design. I've prototyped it. It's been through a couple iterations. I'm now going to send it out into the world, and we'll see how it does out there. I will release this file onto my Patreon. I think I'll charge like $5 or $8 for it. And then you guys can experiment with it further. You can scale it down, scale it up, print it in different infills to see kind of what you like, and you can get that on the table and see how that feels for you guys. This is a quick and dirty method, and you will notice, I mean, we're starting at 90, and the numbers it's landing on, it's going to be in reverse, so we're not counting up. So if it falls at 75 degrees, I was not able to tilt it to 75 degrees. I was only able to tilt it 15 degrees before it slipped and fell. Start out with 3 USTA pieces. Try and line them up nice and square, give them the best chance. And we'll do a little tilt. And as you can see, not much, doesn't take much for those to slide off. Go ahead and go up to maximum size stack of just flats. And those kind of square. So we're talking maybe 10, 15 degrees at most on that. I'll try and slow this down and maybe put a highlight in the video of where that actually does stop. You know, maybe a indicator line on this square here. Okay, let's try one with a wall on top. And we get the same result, and I can do one with the capstone as well, but the capstone actually has a little bit more friction than just the flat on flat, so we should see the flat separate before the capstone does. Yeah, so about the same. We're getting maybe 10 or 15 degrees of tilt before that stops. The second test that I wanted to do here is going to be the shake test, and just I'll try and hold it by the bottom 1 or 2 flats and give it a little shake, and as if mimicking someone with unsteady hands, either from caffeine, nerves, or kind of old age, loss of dexterity, kind of age related. Because I'm certainly getting older. I don't know about you guys, and I have noticed a decline in my dexterity. I mean, still pretty steady, but its fine motor skills and vision are kind of lacking a little more, but you see how those skate around really easily, and then they'll fall off. Let me do it with just a few few stacks in a wall. And then maybe a stack or 2 with a capstone. Okay. So you guys kind of get the idea. So that first test was with the USTA tournament set as it stands now. And then I went and I 3D modeled some different designs, and this is the one I landed on. And again, we're going to do that test, kind of line it up similarly to how we did the other one. I'll grab a few different colored flats here, and then we'll put that kind of there. We'll start with 3, and then we're going to tilt, and then we're going to see where that falls off.
And so I don't know exactly where that was, but you know, I got down to 40 degrees maybe on the scale, so I was able to tilt that 50 degrees. And if I go slowly enough, I mean, you can almost get that parallel. And actually, if you hold it by the corners, it's going to be even stronger, and you can get those, you know, you can get that almost parallel to the playing surface there. But I wanted the design to be easily unstackable and usable, so there's no clicking in place. This is not like a Lego set. These are just some, see if I can get the camera to focus on it. I've got some grooves in the bottom, and then on the top I have, see if I can get that, the matching kind of inset rim around here to go in. And then I've just simply kind of hollowed out a place for the wall to stand up, which again is not going to click in place because I don't want people having to pull apart these stacks as they're unstacking. I just want it to come out in a natural movement such as that. And really, so these are, you know, only like I think it's like a mil and a half. So 1 or 2 millimeters for the indents, as for the depth of the wall placement, as well as the groove in the bottom and the kind of matching posts or rim or whatever you want to call it up top that goes in there. So now we have the same stack. And a tip, because hopefully the person that's finally getting this will watch my videos, or someone who does, the person who commissioned the set for him, will be able to explain this to him. I found that if you pick this up by the corners with a wall on top, then it is much more stable. Whereas if you pick it up from the side, then you're really working towards the strength of it here, and then you're working in the weak orientation here, where you're easily able to kind of rattle that off the top. So again, we tested with 3. We can kind of almost get that all the way down and back up in that particular setting, but if your hands shake a little bit, you're moving the stack around. But hopefully no one's going to be holding their stack like this as they move it across the board. We'll get back up to the USTA test size here, which was like 6, I think, is what we did, which is the max carry limit on a 6x6, so that's why I chose that as the testing point. I would expect this to fall over more quickly, so again, yep, so we only got down to maybe a 45 degree tilt on that one. We can go diagonally and get maybe down to 40. Still quite the improvement. I mean, that's what a 4-time improvement over the USTA flats as far as tilting goes. Okay, so that takes care of the flats, and then we will throw a wall on top of here and tilt until the wall falls off. So only got down to 60, 55, so about a 30 degree angle with that, which is still about 3-time improvement over the previous USTA set. And if you want to experiment with digging those deeper or having it snap in, adding a post and hole for that. But again, I wasn't going for solid fit because I do want people to be able to play with these very similarly to how you would a normal set. Being able to stack and spread very easily without, you know, without really having to work at it too hard. That was the weak direction there, like I said. So if they pick it up kind of and like this to move it around, then you can get some pretty good shake in there before that wall finally comes off. And even if they do lose the wall, they could still complete the rest of the stack and then just, or the rest of the spread, and then replace that wall on top if they wanted. And now for the capstone. I did actually 2 designs. Don't tell the person who commissioned this that. It's kind of a surprise. So I did a circular design which was approved. So a cylinder with grip grooves all up and down the side. And that is sized to fit just inside of, get my hands out of the way here, just inside of that lip with a little bit of wiggle. And so that way it's somewhat stable with the the shake. So that's my cylinder design for that. And again, we still get about, 55 degrees for that top heavy cap falls off there. We'll do it one more time for posterity. 50 degrees. So what's that, about a 35 degree tilt before it falls off. And then I did do a secondary design, and I've lost it. Oh, it's right here. It blends in with my with my cloth. Okay, so I did a pyramid shape. Same basic approach as the flats. I still have that groove to lock everything in place. I put these grip grooves or these divots going up the side for a nice grip. And then so it should just slot into the top like that. And now you have still something that reinforces that you can't place anything on top of it shape-wise. Easy to pick up with the larger grip grooves. And now we should have a little bit better adhesion or slip resistance for that. So we can get maybe a little further down. We're probably reaching the limit of what the stacks can hold before they start coming apart, because you can see the stack start to separate there in the middle as just the weight carries it over. But this should be much more stable than, I may even have too many on here. Yep, I'm over the carry limit. Somebody should have called me out on that. Foul. All right, we can try a little bit lower now, so we do get down to 50 on that one before it gives. So a full 40 degree tilt before we lose it there. We'll try one more time. Yep, 40 to 45 degree tilt before we lose it all. And then the shake test. It's going to obviously be much stronger. It's going to be better than the wall, and it's going to be better than the circular cap because it is a more contained fit. It's not just resting inside of those grooves, it's resting on either side of those kind of top bump outs. All right, so that about wraps it up for testing for these that I wanted to show you guys. I apologize for the lighting. It is dark outside, so I have no natural light coming in, but I wanted to shoot this video before I send this set off to the client tomorrow. But that way the client can go ahead and get the set in their hands, and then I can edit this later and bring it to you guys in my own time.
I want to thank you guys for watching today. Leave me a comment below if you have improvements for this set, or you're interested in kind of having something made that is in your brain, but you don't have the means to get that into physical reality. I'd be happy to help you out. If you want to support this channel in other ways besides commissions, then as I mentioned earlier, you can purchase my books, you can join my Patreon, or you can just leave a like, subscribe, all those little things that every YouTube video will tell you. And the reason they tell you that is because it really does help grow small channels like these so that we can reach more people with this wonderful game. And as always, I'll leave you with some pictures of what we made today. Thanks, guys.